I hope you've enjoyed all the presenters here in today's presentations. And this promises to be a really good one as well as your closing one for the Investor Inspiration webinars here, because I'm going to tell you about a great new program we have that I specifically designed for our platform that I developed with ProTrader Strategies. We call it a PTS Primo charts. And we're going to be talking about steps today. This is a great method. Actually, it's two methods altogether for defining and fine-tuning your entry point. So it's really just one piece of the puzzle in trading, but it's actually one of the most important pieces of the puzzle, because it's not a day that I go through without getting a question about how to enter, or maybe you know, the idea was right, it's just my entry was wrong. For example, if we look at this chart here that I have posted, this is a 10-minute chart of the spiders. Now we see, looking in hindsight, we have a really nice upward trend in this, okay? But how could we have taken advantage of that? Well, all you would have to do is simply click on steps, and as you can see here, this is steps number 1, which takes advantage of all the high probability entry points in a strong trending market. All right, now let's say you're not the type of trader that wants to take that many setups or is looking for entry points along the way, and you want to really fine-tune your entries to get the most bang for your buck at lower prices. Well, if we look at this weekly chart of Facebook, all right, all you would have to do is once again click on steps number 2 and look at all the entry points here. Not as many as in steps number 1, but you're getting there in at lower prices. So this is all automatically predefined in our new PTS Primo charting platform, and I'm really excited about it because it takes all of the hard work out for you, and you automatically know these high probability points of entry. We're going to be talking about steps today, and as Renee said, my name is Stephen Primo. I'm the president and founder of Specialist Trading. About 8 years ago, I teamed up with ProTrader Strategies, where all we do is educate and teach our members all around the world in, I believe, over 110 countries around the world, and just in every state in the United States, all the things I've accumulated in my 40-year career. I've been trading for 4 decades now. As she stated, I started out on the floor of the Pacific Stock Exchange. I was on the floor for 16 years. 9 of those years I was a specialist. A specialist, if you're not familiar with what that is, it's just someone who made markets in roughly about 50 or 60 stocks. So you would, if you wanted to buy or sell a particular stock, you went to the trader who specialized in that, who made markets. So I was a specialist during the crash of 1987, which exactly happened 30 years ago today. That's another story altogether, but that was probably one of the craziest days of my life. The swings I took during that day, it was unbelievable. I talk about it sometimes in my webinars, but that happened 30 years ago today. I can't believe I'm still here 30 years later, but because of the things that I was taught on the floor, they have been able to sustain me for my 4 decades of trading. And so this is what we do with all of our members around the world. We teach them the same things that I have learned and that I continue to use in my own personal trading as well. So today promises to be a great presentation where I'm going to introduce you to a new feature we have here called Steps. But as always, before we begin, we're required by law to show you our disclaimer. So please take a moment to look at it. I'm going to show you a lot of performance results in today's presentation, but please remember that we can in no way guarantee that any of the results I'm about to share with you will be repeated in the future. So once again, we're required to show you this. As you're taking a brief moment to view our disclaimer, I would also like to take this time to invite each and every one of you who haven't done so already to follow us on Twitter. You may want to copy down our handle right there, abbreviation for Specialist Trading. Every day I post different information, anywhere from little bits of wisdom, trading wisdom along the way, to actual signals that our strategies have generated. In fact, if you look on our Twitter page today, you'll see that yesterday we actually one of our strategies generated a buy signal in Adobe, and if you look at that chart today, you'll see what happened. So these are things that we teach in all of our courses. If you're a member of that particular strategy, you would have been able to go long yesterday and had a very nice profit today. So feel free to follow us on Twitter. Now, as I stated, we are first and foremost an educational company. I teamed up with ProTrader Strategies simply to educate traders around the world. It's my belief that the reason why most traders fail is not because they have a faulty strategy or system. It's just that they haven't been supplied the proper information to make their own trading decisions. You see, most traders are relying on someone or something else to tell them how to trade. And so what we try to do is educate you to put you in the driver's seat. We try to give you high probability pieces of the puzzle so that you can be in charge of your own trading decisions. Now today, once again, we're going to share with you a great entry tool that is specifically designed for fine-tuning your entries. But remember, it's just one piece of the puzzle. You still have to learn about stop placement, money management. You still have to find out where you're going to exit, okay? You have to find out where you're going to exactly enter. I'm going to share with you different ways in which to enter using these particular features today. So there's a lot more information that we have available with our programs and features, but I'm just going to be sharing one of them with you. Now, since we are an educational company, I love to take questions, but if I stop for every slide to take a question, we may be here in a three more hours. So to keep this presentation on time, please hold off till the end to ask any questions, okay? I promise I'll get to them at the very end. Okay, so let's begin. Let me start out by actually asking you a question. Has this ever happened to you? Let's say whatever method you're trading, it doesn't really matter what it's based off of. It could be based off of fundamental news. It could be based off an indicator. It could be based off the full moon. It really doesn't matter. But let's say you enter a trade and then you're in too early. This is one of the most common problems with a lot of traders. They'll get into a trade and then nothing happens, or worse than that, it'll go in the opposite direction. And when that happens, you scare yourself out. You figure, boy, I can't take another loss. I've already had too many losses, and this looks like it's going to turn into another loss. So you exit the trade with a small loss, or even probably a large loss. And then the minute you get out, it goes your direction. Has that ever happened to you? Okay, I know it's happened to me in the past, and it's extremely common. Or what about this? Has this ever happened to you? You enter a trade too late. Okay, let's say your method or trading plan, whatever it is based off of, tells you that this is something you're interested in buying, but you have to wait for a buy signal to be generated. So you wait and it goes higher and higher and higher, and then finally it says it's okay to buy at a certain level. But by this time it's gone up far too high and you're afraid to enter the trade, okay? Has that ever happened? You feel like, boy, if I buy this, I've gotten in just about where I would have figured I would be getting out. Or what about this? Let's say you don't know when to get back in. Maybe you got into the trade, you exited with a rather nice little gain, and then all of a sudden it just keeps going and going and going. And so you want to get back in. You think this thing is really going to take off, but you don't know where to re-enter. All right, your strategy or system isn't generating any re-entry points. So where do you get back into the trade? And then lastly, extremely common, you don't have the confidence to pull the trigger. I conduct classes all the time and different colleges for our members around the world, and this is extremely common. People can have a method that works all right, but they've been bitten so many times, they've really lost a lot of money that they're afraid to pull the trigger. They just don't have the confidence, all right? Well, these are all extremely common things, and they're all things that can be alleviated with steps. But before we decide and define how we're going to be using steps, we have to come to a common understanding that there are only two types of entries. I know a lot of you are thinking, well, no, Steve, that can't be true because my entries are based off of a proprietary tools or proprietary indicators or a method that no one knows about. But really, we have to go down to the common denominator. There are only two types of entries, and here's what they are. The first one is a continuation entry. Now, this means that you have a strong trend in place already established, and you're the type of trader that doesn't care if you buy high and sell higher. You just want to ride this thing as long as it keeps going in your desired direction. So a continuation entry just wants you to get in as it goes higher along this uptrend. As you can see here in this generic chart, we have a nice uptrend in place, and rather than wait for some type of sell-off or some type of retracement, you just enter along these fine-tuned entry points, okay? This is a continuation entry. That's the first in our two styles of entry. The second is a pullback entry. Now, what exactly is that? Well, a pullback entry waits for a trend to be established, as we see here in this generic uptrend. But then with so many trends, you get what's called a counter trend. Now, this is where most traders think the trend, the initial trend, has ended and it's going to go all the way back down. But according to your requirements, according to your method, according to your system, you know that this is just a stair-step approach, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And on this 1 step back, we call this a pullback, okay, or a retracement. Once this pullback meets all the requirements in your method or your strategy, this is where you enter. Because if you have this type of 2 steps forward, 1 step back approach, usually the trend resumes on its upward course, okay? So you're trying to get in at a less expensive price. The pullback entries are for traders who don't want as many entries or don't care about as many setups as continuation traders. They're happy for waiting for a sell-off and then getting in at an inexpensive price. And remember, all of these can be reversed with a downtrend. You just simply reverse the rules, okay? So those are the only type of entries there are, the only type of trades there are. Now, albeit there are different rules and requirements and regulations for your trading plan or system, but in terms of entry, they're based off either a continuation of trend or some type of pullback in trend, all right? So now with that in place, this introduces us to steps. This is where steps comes in. Remember, steps is just one piece of the puzzle. If you're wondering what steps stand for, it's really simple. It simply means short-term entry points. That's all it is. But these are just entry points that are very high have very high probability for really getting you in sync with the trend and then getting you back in sync with a successful trade. Now, one of the things I have to explain is that what steps is not. Steps is not a strategy, okay, nor an indicator, but it's two completely different proprietary entry techniques. Now, they can be applied to your current trading method or used as building blocks for the construction of one. We have a lot of members around the world who like to devise and make up their own strategies. This is where steps comes in. If you're one of those types of people where you like to tinker under the hood and make up your own methods, these are perfect for your entry points, okay? For that one piece of the puzzle. If you currently have a strategy or a method and you feel like, well, it's underperforming, it's doing okay, it's just not that great, we really think steps can improve your odds for consistency simply by using them as your entry points instead of your standard entry point. All right, so let me go through each and every one of these steps. We have two steps, but steps one has to do with trading strong trending markets, okay? So this is a continuation type of entry. Let's look at this strong market here in IBM, all right? Now, as we see here, IBM in this situation was going much higher. We have a strong upward trend. Now, looking back in hindsight, let's say that right around this area is where your strategy, your method, your system generated a buy setup, okay? But you wanted to fine tune your entry. So many times you'll buy at the top, or so many times it doesn't even generate a signal, and you may not buy it till it's gone way up here. So you want to fine tune your entry somewhere around these points. Well, with the new PTS Primo charts, all you'd have to do is simply click on steps one. And once you do that, a drop-down menu appears, and all you have to do is simply click on the signal arrow, and all of the arrows will appear. So you have your choice of which one of these to take. Now, some, albeit, are better than others, but let me show you the different types of entry points and entries you can use here. You can enter on the market close. So we see here on this first example, you could have entered on the close right here, but look what happened. You would have had to wait a good 2 or 3 weeks, all right, for something to happen within that. You can enter on the next bar open. Now, sometimes that works better, as you see in this example. When we had a buy here, the next bar opened a little bit lower, but then ultimately we went even lower. Let's show you the most conservative way of entering, which is the one I like to use myself, and that's entering one tick above the high of the bar that has a green arrow. So in other words, wherever a green arrow has been generated, you're going to buy one tick above. And as you can see, we never traded above, and you would simply draw a line here until finally that's when it traded above, and that's your entry. And look what happened after that, okay? As you can see, that was your fine tuning of your entry point. Now, a lot of traders will say, well, yes, Steve, but what happens when the trend changes, okay? Am I still going to be generating buy signals? Well, no, because steps is so finely tuned to the trend, it will change with the trend. As you can see here, look what happened in IBM in the spring of this past year. Automatically, it started going down very, very strongly. But look what steps did. Let's say you had taken the last signal right here and you were long. You most likely would have, using our proprietary stop placement or money management, stopped yourself out with a nice profit. And then when we changed over, you could have gotten short if you wanted to. Now remember, you don't have to actually buy or sell the stock. You can purchase options. We're just showing you fine-tuned points to enter regardless of how you want to trade. Many of our students use this and then they apply options to it. They buy long calls or long puts, or they have some type of strategy, some type of spread strategy. And you can use the same thing. You could have gone short right off the close. You could have entered on the next bar opening, which sometimes is a little bit higher, or the most conservative, you would have entered one tick below the low of the bar where a signal was generated. But look what happened 2 or 3 weeks later. Now, obviously, we had no idea that the stock was going to gap down that far down, but the market was telling us, and that's how Steps listens to the market. Let's look at a downward movement here in GWW. As you can see, we have a very strong downward trend in the latter part of this chart here. Let's say your method or your strategy signaled that there was a breakdown right here. Once we broke down to this kind of a little bottom here, that's where your method says you should be shorting this and you want to buy puts, but you're not sure where to get in because last time you got in and then it bounced up right away. Well, this is where Steps comes into play again. All you'd have to do is click on Steps and look at all the red arrows once again. So you could have entered on the close, you could have entered one tick below, or you could have entered on the opening of the next bar, but either way, you would have had a nice move to the downside in GWW. Now let's look at a weekly chart of the spiders. This is coming all up until this past week, okay? As you can see, obviously the market has been going stronger and stronger and stronger. A lot of people, let's say in your long-term portfolio, purchase the spiders as some type of hedge or something to have in their IRA account. And let's say you bought it right here, okay? Well, this is a nice buy, but seeing that the market keeps going higher and higher, you want to re-enter. But how do you re-enter? Where exactly should you get in? Because the market is pretty much going straight up on this weekly chart. Well, you would once again click on Steps 1 and look at all the places you could have entered using those same entry rules, if you like, by simply using Steps 1. Now, if we go to a 10-minute chart, the same process is applied. We have a very strong upward trend, but steps can be applied in any time frame, in any direction. So you can still apply it and look at all the buy signals that were generated here. So steps will never generate a buy signal in a downtrend. It will never generate a sell signal in an uptrend. It's only going to be in sync with the trend. So that's why you don't have to worry about buying at the very top. Sure, you may buy there, but using our proprietary money management, you should be able to get out with a relatively small loss. But had you taken one of the or two of the very first signals, you still have a very nice profit in place. Now that's on a 10-minute chart. Here's a 5-minute chart of IBM last week, okay, in October. As you can see in hindsight, it's been going down, all right? How could we have taken advantage of this using Steps 1? Remember, Steps 1 is to be applied for continuation trading, continuation in strong trends. Well, simply click on Steps 1 and look at all the sell signals generated. So if you ever wanted to get back in, if you're the type of trader that likes a lot of setups, a lot of signals, Steps 1 is for you. Had you taken this very first one, well, look at all the nice movement to the downside you could have had. This is on a 5-minute time frame. Now, we can also apply this to another market entirely. So far, I've just showed you stocks and ETFs. Let's move on to the E-mini futures. This is an hourly chart of the E-mini coming into October this month, just a couple of weeks ago. All right, as you can see, it's been going straight up. We want to take advantage of getting long as much as we can. We're the type of trader who likes a lot of setups. We're the type of trader that doesn't mind buying higher and buying more. Well, click on Steps 1 and look at all the buy setups you had, okay? These are finely tuned, high probability entry points. Now, we know that there's been a lot of interest lately in the Bitcoin and trading the Bitcoin, okay? Not that we're affiliated with any company and not that we are telling you that you should trade it. It's entirely up to you. But just to show you how well steps can be applied to any market, any direction, here's a weekly chart of the Bitcoin going all the way back to the beginning of 2016, okay? Now, before this, market really took off, if you had simply clicked on Steps number 1, look at all the buy setups that were generated here. But please remember, Steps is not a strategy or a system. In order to have a full-fledged strategy or system, you need a stop placement, you need an exit point, you need money management. Steps is just one of those pieces of the puzzle. It's just telling you where to get in with high probability. Okay, so continuation trading. That's for the trader who doesn't mind buying as it keeps going up or selling as it keeps going down. Continuation traders usually like a lot of trades. They like a lot of action. For those traders, steps number 1 is perfect. But what about the trader who, doesn't need that many trades, maybe only wants to trade once a week or once a month, if they're more of an investor type or a swing trader, and they're looking to get in at lower prices as opposed to just buying something as it goes up higher and higher? This is where step number 2 comes into play. It's an entry point designed for trading strong pullback markets, okay? So let's show you this example here in Tiffany. Someone looking at this would say, well, Steve, this stock did nothing, and then all of a sudden it had a tremendous run up. But all the indicators, the chat room I go to, or the guy I follow on TV says this is overbought. You've got to sell it. In fact, he thinks that it's going to come all the way back down to those lows. All right. Well, that's not the way steps works. It doesn't go off any fundamental news or any of the common indicators. It's based off of proprietary tools I learned some 40 years ago on the floor of the exchange. Now with steps 2, all you have to do once again is click on the steps 2 tab, and it will automatically generate a drop-down menu. You'd simply click on the signal arrows to find out if wherever there is a buy signal based off of a pullback. And where everyone else was saying we topped out, guess what steps 2 is saying? It's saying this is just a pullback within a strong upward trend. Most likely, just like that generic example I showed you, we're going to continue the trend. So let's see what happened later on. As you can see, it was a pullback. Steps 2 correctly called the entry point, and instead of buying all along the way up, the pullback trader waits for a pullback to get in at inexpensive prices and isn't, it isn't worried about waiting a while to get a nice trend going. Now this can work to the downside as well. Here's an older chart of GPC. Someone looking at this would say, well, Steve, we've bottomed out. According to the Fibonacci retracement, according to the institutions and the volume, we hit a bottom right here. And I like this stock, and the earnings are coming out, and they're going to be really good, so I'm going to be a buyer of this, okay? Let's click on steps number 2 and see what happened. Steps 2 says that this is in an overall downtrend, and all this little bounce is a pullback. It's just a retracement to the upside. So rather than buying this and basing it off of fundamental news and all these things that really have no consistency, it's telling you to sell. And so had you taken the steps number 2 entry point, well, look what happened, okay? Now, does this work 100% of the time? No, absolutely not. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that every trade is a winner, but there is a high probability in steps 1 and 2. And provided that you use sound money management and you have adequate capital, they should help you tremendously with your consistency. Let's look at this example in KORS course. Okay, this was in August coming into the end of September, beginning of October. Once again, we have a really strong run up here in August in the summer. In fact, a very strong gap open, but now it looks like it's just rolling over, and we've had 3-4 down days. It looks like we're going to come back and fill this gap. But steps number 2 says, no, this is actually a buy. It's a pullback. This is just a buy setup in an overall uptrend. So if you're willing to take this setup, well, and wait a little bit, it was 6 points to the upside coming into October, okay? Now, also, we can apply this to stocks going lower. Once again, someone could look at this and say, well, Steve, this sell-off isn't confirmed. Sure, this low was confirmed, but this entire time, the stochastics, the oscillators didn't confirm this low. So you've got to buy it and look at it. It's taking off. It's most likely going to come all the way back up. Well, if you click on steps 2 is saying, no, we are still in an overall downtrend. This is just a retracement. It's a pullback in an overall downtrend. You should sell this. And the stock went down 15 points into October this month. Did we know it was going to go down this far? Absolutely not. Remember, steps is not a predictive tool. It's not telling you how high or how low something will go. It's just a tool to fine-tune your entry points. Now, a lot of people like to use this for new company investments, for IPOs. Let's look at the darling of the IPOs, which goes back about 5 years. That was Facebook. Okay, remember when Facebook came out in 2012? This is what everyone was waiting for. This was the darling of the IPOs. This is what was going to take off and be the next Apple. It was just going to take off tremendously. I believe the stock was issued roughly in the 40s and then immediately went down and lost half of its value. Okay, this was in 2012, as you can see here, and it went down. Had you waited for a high probability entry point, all you would have to do on this weekly chart is click on steps number 2, and as you can see, a buy point was entered here, roughly around 22, and nothing much happened. But then another one is entered here, about a half point lower. So if you're an investor, you're willing to wait. These look like better points of entry as opposed to somewhere 20 points higher. And we all know what's happened in Facebook. Now, these are weekly charts. In 2014, we had a very strong sell-off in Facebook after it had made new highs. But look what happened. Another step 2 buy setup was generated. And if we go forward on the next slide, we see that from 2014 all the way to 2017, steps 2 pinpointed every major pullback in Facebook. Now, this is for swing traders who like to trade off of weekly charts. So you can use it for new company investments rather than just getting in on the initial IPO. Maybe you would enter in with half of what you thought and then wait for a step 2 type of entry point. Now, a lot of people like to go off broker recommendations or what someone recommends in a chat room or a trading room. And this is oftentimes okay. I mean, sometimes you'll see it work nicely, but other times you'll see that everyone rushing in through the door at the same time. And usually that's a bad sign. For example, here in this example in WYNN, W-Y-N-N, this is where it's a broker recommendation. The stock gapped up off of everyone trying to buy at the same time. And then look what happened right after that. Now, this is not saying that the recommendation was faulty. It's not saying that you shouldn't have purchased this. It's just saying that the entry point was faulty. So how do we fine tune our entries? If you're willing to get in at a lower price, you click on step 2, all right? And steps 2 will, once again, generate the arrows. And rather than buying where everyone else did at the top of this little run up, wait for a pullback. That's where you enter, and then the stock takes off, okay? So remember, once again, it's not saying that your pick was wrong. It's saying that your entry point is faulty. We're just fine-tuning the entry point and saving you some money along the way. Now, we can also apply it to intraday trading. Here's a 15-minute chart of Apple. This was last week. Looking at this chart, it looks like Apple is doing nothing, right? This is a 15-minute chart, and it's just basically in a range. But if we had used steps 2, we would have seen that once we click on the tab in our PTS Primo charts, guess what? A buy setup was generated, and look what happened the very next day, okay? Obviously, we had no idea why the stock went up. We don't care. We just, use this proprietary tool that I've been using for roughly about 40 years to fine-tune our entries. Now, here's a daily chart of the E-mini futures, okay? So we can apply this also to other markets. If we look at this right here, we see that this is the daily chart of the E-mini futures in September. And as we see here, towards the end of September, it looked like we were rolling over 4 down days, but step 2 generated a buy. And we've all seen what the market has done coming into October. Even today, we had a strong downward opening and the market looked bad, and then we bounced all the way back. So let's review before we go into question and answer, and I answer any of your questions you may have and tell you about a great offer. Remember, steps can be applied to virtually any strategy. So if you have a strategy right now that's doing okay, you just don't feel it's that great. It's not something that always generates losers, but it's just kind of 50-50. We feel that if you apply steps, either 1 or 2, you can really increase your odds for consistency. Now, steps can also be applied to any market. Now, I basically showed stocks and futures here, but you can apply it as well to the Bitcoin. You can apply it to currency pairs, to commodities. It makes no difference. So it's not just a fine-tuned entry point for stocks. You can use it virtually on any market. You can also apply steps to any time frame. All right, you've seen 15-minute charts, 5-minute charts, you've seen daily, weekly. It can be applied to monthly charts. It makes no difference. Tick charts, that's the beauty of steps. And then lastly, it can be in any direction. We know that some traders only like to go long. We know that other traders like to only go short. Well, steps will generate buy signals as well as sell signals. That's the beauty of steps. It's just so easy to transfer onto any market, any time frame, any direction, and with any strategy that you're currently trading. Also, one last thing which we didn't point out is that if you want to develop a strategy, steps is already fine-tuned to use as your entry point. Now, let me tell you about today's attendee special before we go into question and answers. All right, we're going to offer you steps. All right, this is 2 proprietary techniques. We come with a continuation entry, the pullback entry, which I just showed you. Remember, it applies to strategies, time frames. It's great for re-entering trades. The best thing is that it gives you the confidence to pull the trigger. Here's what we're going to even increase the offer as well. We're going to include our new PTS Primo charting platform. This makes it so simple because it's just one click away. Okay, the beauty of this is that it's already predefined and pre-canned for you. All you have to do is click on the Steps tab, and as you saw in that drop-down menu, the arrows will automatically appear. We've taken the hard work out of it for you. It's a proprietary tool. All you have to do is click it on, and you'll see everything right there, regardless of market, regardless of time frame. Now we're going to offer you a 30-day trial, okay? A 30-day trial for only $7, okay? You're going to be able to use this entire platform as well as Steps, what we just shared with you, for only $7. I think if you're going out to lunch today, you can't spend less than $15 for going out to lunch. Where for $7, you're going to get 30 days, a full month use of our platform with Steps. But we're not stopping there. We're also going to include the scanner. This is our bonus to you today. We're also including the scanner. We realize that some people aren't able to be in front of your computer and intraday trade or see things as they're happening. So one of the beauties of this is that you can apply the scanner and see what the Steps setups are for the next day if you want to enter on the opening of the next day or one tick above that bar. For example, all you would do in the Steps drop-down menu is click on the scanner tab, and you'll see this window appear. All right. If you look in the left-hand corner, you see load symbols. We provide you with symbol lists such as the NASDAQ 100, the S&P 500, the top ETFs. You can even create your own symbol list. And once you click on that list, whatever one you want to see, it will automatically appear on the screen. It takes about 10 seconds to upload. Once you have all the stocks or whatever you're looking at on the screen, then you simply hit scan. It's that simple. We've taken all the hard work out, and in moments, you'll see either green or red bars on the right. This simply means if you see a green bar, that's a buy setup for the next day. If you see a red bar, that's a sell setup for the next day. And then all you have to do is go onto the PTS Primo charts. Here's our different backgrounds we have using another one of our proprietary tools, the buy sell line. As you can see here, when it says when the background is red, that's telling you you should be out of the market. When the background is blue, it's telling you you should be in the market. Once you click on the Steps tabs, look at all the arrows that are generated, okay? This is all yours for only $7. And then after $7, I believe the price only goes up to less than 100. It's like $97 a month. But there's no obligation. You can just stay in for 1 month if you'd like, and then decide then if you'd like to stay on. For example, if you use the scanner, let's say you would have gotten this signal here in Oracle, all right? There was a buy signal using Steps 1. Look what happened 2 days later, 6 points to the upside, okay? Now, let's say you weren't a Steps 1 buyer. Well, here's the beauty. Many times, Steps 2 will also generate signals in the same exact stock. So as you see here, a week prior to that Steps 1 signal, a Step 2 buy signal was generated. And this is all included in the Steps program. Remember, this is all in our new PTS Primo charts. I've developed this with ProTrader Strategies. I'm extremely proud of it. I use it on a daily basis. It's one-stop shopping. It's 40 years of things that I've accumulated in my trading right there in front of you. And I can't think of a better way to become acquainted with us at Specialist Trading and ProTrader Strategies by offering you this great package for only $7. Once again, I think if you traded today, you probably spent more than that in commission costs alone. So this is a great offer. I would love for you to come on board. And then after 30 days, there's no obligation. You can decide to keep going or say thank you, but it's not my cup of tea. Here's how to take advantage of this. Contact my sister site, ProTrader Strategies. You can either email them at trading@protraderstrategies.com, call them directly at 310-598-6677, or the easiest thing to do to get that $7 offer is to simply go to that link below. Now, that link below is not live. That is a link you have to copy and paste that, but I'm not sure. I think they may post that in the chat box on the far right corner, and then that'll be live. But this is not a live link, but it's simple enough. All you have to do is just copy and paste that and then put it onto a browser, and then they'd be able to take you there. If you're having any technical difficulties, there's no obligation. Contact ProTrader Strategies. They can sign you up over the phone or through email, and they'll take care of you for that $7 price, okay? Now, I'm going to leave all this information up here. I thank you for holding off. If you did have any questions, let me see if there are any. I'm going to, if you bear with me, I'm going to open up. People are saying Steps. Will Steps work with NinjaTrader? I believe it does, but you know what? You would have to contact ProTrader Strategies, and the offer we have for you today, and it might not be $7. It might be a little bit more expensive. So I would actually take the $7 deal, because you know, for $7 you're going to get a lot of information more than if you want to apply it to an already current platform. It will cost you more money. So I would say for the $7, it's better just to apply it with the platform. Okay. Let's see. Can you use steps on NinjaTrader? Okay, the same question. How much will the cost after the offer? I believe the price after the offer is for the full platform is only $97 a month. And once again, you're not locked into anything, but and that's a great offer as well. Many times you can't even get platforms for less than a couple of $100 or $300 per month. We're giving you all this information. So the best thing to do is contact ProTrader Strategies. They have you know, trading consultants manning the phones right now, and there's no obligation. They're traders themselves. They understand. They'll answer any questions that you may have about different platforms, about usage, and they'll help you along the way, and we'll be there with you every step of the way. You know, one thing I forgot to mention too, once you sign up for the steps course here with the platform, you also get my personal email, and you can contact me anytime you like with any questions. So you have someone who's been trading this for 4 decades, can answer any questions you may have or look at any examples you may want me to look at. So that's another thing as well. I don't think a lot of times when these people offer you these things that you're getting 40 years of experience as your mentor, as someone to answer your questions. This comes included with the $7 offer, okay? Let me see, any more questions? This is great, thank you. You're welcome. You're more than welcome. And if I can just, you know, say once again in closing that that link you see right there in front of you is not live. You just have to put your cursor over that, copy and paste that onto a browser, or copy it on you know, yourself. Just type it in. And I'm sorry, it's just that this is a PowerPoint presentation. It's not a live link. But if you're having any difficulty at all, contact ProTrader Strategies. They should be able to set you up very nicely. Okay. Oh, I'm seeing they just put up the link on the chat box on the far right. So that is live. That should be live. Thank you. Renee posted that up. That is live, and that should take you right to the $7 offer. Okay. And once again, for any questions, there's no obligation. Contact ProTrader Strategies. I'll be there with you every step of the way. If you have any questions, or if you have, you know, we would suggest paper trading it for a week or two so that you understand exactly how to apply it. But during that time, you can email me with any questions, and I will be right there with you along the way, answering any questions that you may have, okay?